The year is 2008, and I just graduated a year early from college and driven halfway across the country to go work for Barack Obama on his 2008 campaign. It gets worse, just wait. And it's awesome. I'm working 20-hour days, I'm sleeping under my desk, I'm taking bus trips with Michelle and Rock's family, and I am doing my part to make this a more inclusive, inviting, accepting world. Or at least, that's what I think in my head. Here's who I really am. I'm the type of person that on Halloween buys a professional moose costume after Sarah Palin's infamously on the news when picking gets a little can and writes Alaskan Wildlife Refugee Fund. Gets worse. And goes down to our state headquarters and sits outside under the L train begging for money till the press pays attention, and then walks inside and can't figure out why my coworkers rush to push me out of that office. I can't figure out that there are huntsmen and sportsmen and Alaskans and a whole bunch of people in this country who would be wildly offended by my actions. I'm the type of person that used to joke, not so jokingly, that I was a longitudinalist. Didn't hate you because of your gender, your skin color, your race, your sexual identity. But if you were from the South, I thought you were stupid. I thought you were backwards, and I thought you were part of the problem. Fast forward 2012. Primaries are back. Barack Obama is going to be the nominee for the Democrats, but we don't yet know who's going to challenge him. And I decide I want to put my finger on that scale. And so I hatch a devious little plan. And I change my registration from D to R. And I show up at Aspen Middle School in the caucuses. Despite the fact that I have no intention of voting for whoever comes out on that side. And not being exactly a bastion of Republican politics, there's someone to speak for the big candidates, your Mitt Romneys, your Ron Pauls, but the smaller candidates don't have representation. And so the event moderator asked the audience if anybody would like to speak for me. Anyone want to speak for Rick Santorum? Anybody want to speak for Newt Gingrich? I do, for some reason. So I get up in front of 300 to 400 Pickens County Republicans, and I give what is a true and impassioned speech, but leaving out that little detail that I don't intend to vote for the guy. And what I say is something like this. An election between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama is boilerplate red and blue. It's talking points and we're done. An election between Newt and Obama, say what you will about Newt, and there's plenty to say, at least he's a guy who's demonstrated out-of-the-box thinking and big ideas. And maybe, just maybe, an election between these two produces a real conversation. Produces, a learnable moment, right? Well, to my surprise, at the end of all this, I've got 40 to 60 Pickens County Republicans lined up to shake my hand and ask who this shiny new Republican is. One of them is Freya Wallison, wonderful lady, and she says, "Hey, would you like to come to my house for a Pickens County Republican dinner, meet people?" And I said, "Yeah, we'll do that." So I go to dinner. And I meet Aspenites. I meet people who like skiing, who are well educated, who care about their community, who give back, who've got kids in our school system. And then they ask me, "Hey, would you like to be our delegate for the state convention?" I think, yeah, I want to do that. Now, keep in mind, at this time, there is no cognitive dissonance in my head. I am nothing if not incredibly curious. But I also didn't give 1 second of thought to anyone else in that situation. I didn't think about all the people in those rooms I was misleading. And I didn't think about my fellow progressives like Blanca O'Leary and others who to this day distrust me because of this. Didn't give it a thought. Now, I'm probably the only person maybe you'll ever meet who was elected back-to-back years to go to a Democratic and a Republican convention. I didn't make that Democratic convention because I was in college and I got too fucked up the night before, which would tell you something about my maturity level at the time. But I've since been to quite a few, and I can tell you the vibes are completely different. A Democratic convention is buzzing and energetic and open and possible and hopeful. A Republican convention is strong and resolute and unified and purposeful. Now notice, I didn't use any negative words there. Just different words. And at this Republican convention, I didn't meet Republicans. I met people. I met people with beautiful families, with wonderful ideas about how we rebuild the nuclear family in America. Something that as a liberal from a broken home, as a child who lived through a near decade-long divorce and his father later abandoned him, hit home with me, and I thought, man, maybe there's some things to learn in this room. And then I met people from Meeker, a town not far from here, oil and gas-based community, the type of place that I would previously look down my nose at with judgment as the problem. And I learned that for 100 years, before climate change was even a word, generations of families went to work every day with pride and purpose, doing the unsexy, dirty work it takes to build this country. And generations after generation, people were able to be raised, get a good education, provide for their family, and live with dignity. And then one day, they woke up and they were the problem. They were told, you need to change and get a new job. Well, there are jobs in Meeker. So what do? Do I quit and protest and take the food out of my child's mouth? Or do I maybe paper over some of the less palatable things I hear and insulate myself from that story? And I thought, I should turn the mirror around on myself and ask those questions. And I learned that just 3.5 miles from here out at Sardi Field, there are many days of the year where there are so many private jets that the 100+ bases don't hold them. So you gotta get flown in, land, dropped, flown remotely back to Rifle, park, and come back. Then I learned that the average private jet flight, coast to coast, 5 hours at a time, emits roughly 2/3 of the carbon per person as an entire year of the average American, that person in Meeker. And I thought, man, when it's my financial interest, when it's my client, when it's the speaker that I want to see at the Institute, have I done one damn thing to raise a finger to change that? And I had it. And I realized we're all the same. That born in a different position, educated in a different place, we could all walk in each other's shoes. A couple years after that convention, somebody incredibly close to me came to me and told me that they had been raped. And they asked if I thought it would be a good idea if they got the date of that incident tattooed on the inside of their lip as a reminder that that was the day that they could start fighting for other people similar to them. And I said, yeah, but I'm going with you. And I'm getting "Speak Up" tattooed on the inside of mine as a reminder that just because it didn't happen to me, and it's not my incident or my problem, it's not my responsibility to do something about it. Now, after that convention, I began to understand the wrongs of what I was doing, and I went and stepped back from that Republican group, and I changed my registration back from R, but not to D, to I. And I can't tell you, in fact, I'm going to tell you, that I'm still not without prejudice, and I never will be without prejudice, but I am now also with the perspective to catch it. And rather than looking down my nose and judging and projecting to make myself feel better, I can turn that mirror back around, observe my own behavior, and change that to make the world better. Because I now know what I need most is not a voice and idea, but it's an ear and a heart. Because good ideas and good people can come from anywhere.